We were just talking off camera. My only regret during chemo, which was a time that I hold very dear to my heart, but I have one regret, is that I did not laugh enough. And I didn't realize the power of laughter. I had read about the Norman Cousins story, but I kind of, I had so much going on at the time. And I think the most important thing for me is always putting things into practice. And I didn't put into practicing the laughter. And I'm very excited to speak to Ros today because she has recently published a book called The Laughter Effect. And I'm very excited to talk about the laughter effect. Hi, Ros, how are you?
Hello, Angelica. So lovely seeing you and being here.
So just tell us a little bit more about your journey to writing the book, The Laughter Effect.
Sure. So, well, I suppose my first book was Laughing at Cancer, which was, how to heal with love, laughter, and mindfulness. And I always thought that, that was just going to be one part of the story. And that was very specific to me and my experience, with bowel cancer. We are bowel buddies after all.
Yes.
And I just thought, well, one of the things about getting a cancer diagnosis and then having, operations, in the abdominal area is that there's nothing funny about a cancer diagnosis, and you cannot physically laugh for several weeks, after major surgery, bowel resection, etc.
Yes.
So for me, I'd already been in that sort of positive psychology, laughter yoga space. So I was a laughter yoga facilitator. And I'd become quite good at preaching about laughter being the best medicine, and going into community groups or, even people with cancer and saying, you just got to laugh, laughter's really good, laugh more. And there's nothing more potent than actually then having to imbibe your own medicine. So when I was and for me, it was really back to the drawing board, because I knew that somehow laughter was tied to this whole bowel cancer experience. But as I say, there was nothing funny about a bowel cancer diagnosis. I physically could not laugh for several weeks. So why do I keep feeling that laughter is somehow part of it? And it actually, the beginnings of this book actually started, I didn't know it at the time. It was day 8 after the bowel resection, and I was still in hospital, and I was waiting to be, day 8 was going to be my discharge day, going to be reunited back home with my family. And during the wee hours of that night, let's just say I had a different discharge, and I was absolutely traumatized. I really thought that was it. My time was up, and I couldn't sort of reach that sort of morphine button and the nurse button quick enough. And
you had a bag as well, right? Which was a big change, right?
Oh God, yeah. So I had the ileostomy, which is the sac that you wear on the outside of your tummy, as you know. And I was in a really dark, sad, low mood, which was not like me at all. But I knew that my boys were going to be coming in to collect me in the morning. But anyway, so, that's, about 7 o'clock, they come in with the breakfast trolley, and I said, I'm just not hungry. Like, just forget it. Like, don't want it. And they said, well, just leave it here just in case. And I was just staring at it, as I say, in this dark mood. And what caught my eye was a paper mat underneath the tray. And in the olden days, because this is going back, Angelica, I'd say it's 11 years ago now.
Wow.
That time, which is quite such a blessing to be able to put such a big chunk of time already. And so in the olden days, it was before iPad and, you're ordering your meal on an iPad. It was, very much pen and paper. So I thought, I've got to do something. I just have to do something. I don't know what, but how about let's just map out a small margin to the left of this placemat, and I am going to just think about everything that I'm grateful for about having this operation. So I started, it's like, I'm grateful for having this operation in a world-class hospital.
Yes.
I'm grateful for the love and support of my family and friends. I'm grateful for my body's miraculous capacity to heal. I'm grateful for, the stuff, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
So it went, and all of a sudden there's another margin I had to draw, and kept on writing. And basically this huge, can't even fit it into my laptop lens. It's this big.
Yeah.
Sheet was just filled, and so much so that my writing in the far bottom column became so small. Just like in the olden days, you'd send a postcard to your parents. It's like,
Yeah.
"Dear Mum and Dad," and I realised at the end of this process, I was sitting straighter, and I was actually beaming. And it wasn't just that sort of beam that comes from your face. I just felt like my whole body was beaming. I'd forgotten my pain. And I must have really looked different because a nurse came in to administer my second dose of morphine since my last one.
Yeah.
And she boomeranged right out of the room because she just assumed she went into someone else's, because I didn't look like that person
before.
who'd been panicking. And that's when it really hit me. That was that you can actually tap in to this essence of joy, which is laughter and smiling, without, going to a comedy club or, just even, just finding something to smile about. You can actually embody this energy.
Mm-hmm.
And that really struck me as like, and that was the beginning of this idea of the laughter effect. So it's this idea that you can actually turbocharge other self-care practices like gratitude or self-compassion, with an embodied smile, with the energy of, laughter, of joy. So then, I recovered. As these things take a toll. And I sort of refer to it really as my year of healing.
Mm-hmm.
I journaled most days, and that, as I say, resulted in my first book, Laughing at Cancer, which is part memoir, part healing guide.
Which is an amazing book, by the way. I read it, and it's an incredible book. And I think it's anybody that's been diagnosed with cancer should read it. Like the way that you wrote it, it really takes people on a journey of self-reflection as well, which I really liked.
Yes.
And I think that's so important because, like I said, there is nothing funny about it, but nobody understands if they haven't been through it. And when you read your book, and for me at the time that I read, it was very important because I was going through it, and I could really resonate with so much about what you were talking about, the healing journey and the stages, and how much the lows and how you can get back up again, yourself. And I think I remember there was something that you talked about. There was another moment that you were really upset at home as well, and you just said, I'm just going to put some comedy on, and you're sitting there, I think of your boys as well, and you started laughing.
Yes.
And all of a sudden again, this weight from your shoulders lifted, and you felt so good again, and you just realized the power of laughter, right? The laughter effect again, right?
Exactly. And it wasn't just me, in that instance. I recall that very well. Was that, when one goes through a challenging time, whether it's cancer or something else, and if you live in a family unit, your energy and, it impacts on everybody else.
Yeah.
And what I didn't really appreciate in that moment was me putting on comedy also gave my family permission to laugh. We were laughing together. And so collectively we were actually healing. Just a little bit, just helping sort of move away from that sort of stuck in trauma, stuck in sadness phase. So then I sort of, went back, I was lecturing, I think at the time, in health promotion at La Trobe University, and I just became so fascinated about this idea of laughter, and I ended up doing some research in aged care and also dialysis, and which is like, wow, like you think you think cancer wards are dark places. My gosh, dialysis is even on another level in many regards, because people on dialysis, you know, they have to receive treatment 3 times a week, up to 5 hours a day for the rest of their lives, right? Yeah. There's no break. There's no, you know, freedom. So, you know, facilitating laughter yoga, which is simulated laughter exercises, and clapping, ho, ho, ha, 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 deep breathing. Whilst initially, you know, it might have felt a little bit strange, even to me when I was first introduced it, there is this real power of this intentional laughter practice. And your body cannot think. Your body can only feel. So even if it's, you know, the laugh is started as a simulated or a chosen laugh, as opposed to, you know, the spontaneous laugh with our best friends, you're still releasing those well-being hormones, and that's where the healing comes in. You know, I like to say, you know, we get our dose of well-being, and that's dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins. Yeah. So, you know, so I worked with many groups over many years, you know, really witnessing this therapeutic effect and transformation also in, you know, individual clients' lives. And I thought there's just so much here I actually need to dig further. So I came up with the idea of writing a book really about going from the beginning of time to the present moment. You know, so laughter therapy, you know, we might think is something new, but it goes back, you know, Indigenous cultures embraced laughter to, you know, connect and heal. You know, many tribes had clowns, and not just any clowns. They had happiness clowns and they had sadness clowns. Wow. In Australia, there's a legend from Dreamtime that there's one of the stars in the sky. I can't remember which one. Is it Venus? One of them is laughing because it's still laughing at a joke that an old man talked about. So, you know, there's this richness. So I decided, okay, I'm going to put all of this together and my experience and working with other people into a book. And I ended up getting a publishing deal in December 2019. And I thought, excellent, 2020 is going to be the most amazing year. I'm going to like, you know, be writing and this, that, and the other. I got it all figured out. And of course, then the pandemic hit. And I'm thinking, you know, and I'm in Melbourne. So you know, we had lockdown after lockdown after lockdown, and I was feeling quite joyless. And here had I committed to write this book about the laughter effect. And I'm thinking, how can I write a book about laughter and joy when we're locked into our home? Like,
I think Melbourne was one of the cities that had the most lockdown, right? Like in the world, like that was hard.
Yes. So anyway, luck and fortune, I think, shined down on me. And between lockdowns, my family, so my husband, 2 kids, went to far north Queensland for, you know, just like a week break in between, you know, their university semesters and what have you. And I thought, you know what, I don't know if I really need to come back. In the end, you know, I just loved, you know, just the being in palm trees and warmth. And I thought, I think I'm going to stay and organise some accommodation so that you know, the boys, etc., would be able to come and visit me. And I thought, I'm going to stay for, I don't know, a few months. I decided to get rent a house like by one of the beaches in 𝗙𝗧𝗏 Beach. It was quite magical. And
that's in Queensland, like?
North Queensland. It's just half an hour sort of south of north of Cairns.
Wow.
And I farewelled them, and I thought, well, it's not going to be long. We'll see you soon. You're going to come up, you know, for a weekend or something. And I was planning on flying up the dog. And then Melbourne went into another lockdown. And so I thought, well, there's no way I'm going back there. And in the end, I ended up having to stay about 14 weeks in far north Queensland by myself. And
that's
out.
I love that. Oh my God, that's incredible.
Yeah. So
Isn't
what?
it incredible how the universe like just conspire
Yeah.
for you to kind of get to a point where you actually had to write the book
Yes.
because you had the time and you had the focus. But at the same time, I think what's the most beautiful thing is that you had to put into practice in the laughter effect within a challenging time.
Correct. And that's the thing about the laughter effect. It's far broader than ha 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 laughter.
Yes.
You know, as we were discussing, it's a bit of a bummer because we need to actually take responsibility, and we can change our mindset. And we can change our mindset from the first time we open our eyes in the morning by choosing to place a heartfelt smile on our face, or choosing to think about things that we're going to be looking forward to in the day or grateful for. It's about, you know, going to the mirror and the first thing being not thinking, oh my God, you look crap, but like, hey, just give yourself a gentle smile and, you know, perhaps that will end up, you know, becoming a laugh. And it's this notion of the ripple effect, you know, the ripple effect of what we put out into the world. It has to first begin with us. So I realized that, you know, and I realized this very early in, you know, to the bowel cancer journey, but also as I continued living my life, that, you know, if you wake up and you just are in a foul mood and you do nothing to shift it, you know, you're basically relying on chance happening of something amazing happening to get you out of that funk. But we can choose to you know, add some smiling to our regular meditation practice. Choose to have like just a 10-second laughter workout in the car. You know, use those red light moments to smile. Use those red light moments to breathe and even to laugh, you know. And I found that, and I still find to this day, that if I'm sort of feeling a bit sort of heavier or more anxious, and if I'm in a car, it's a safe space, right? There's no one going to be judging me, especially if I'm driving by myself. Anybody who is in a car next to me or walking past is just going to think, they're just having a laugh with their friend or something funny podcast. But, you know, we can actually switch on smiling and switch on laughter.
That's beautiful.
And you cannot, you know, your mind cannot occupy two opposing mindsets. So if you are smiling, or if you are laughing, or if you are recounting things that you are grateful for, you are anchored into that, you know, energy, that positivity. If you are frowning, if you are grizzling about all of the shit in your life, complaining, you know, that you are anchored into a negative mindset. And as I say, it's a bugger, but the choice is ours.
I think this is so powerful. Like, there's so many things that comes to mind. Like in my journey, when I look back, and it makes me think now when you're talking about that, is that I was so disconnected from my body. That, you know, when you're talking about, you know, the laughter, you know, just get you stop thinking and you are in your body because you're just laughing. You are not thinking, right? I was so disconnected from my body that I couldn't do that. So for me, it was a journey during chemo to kind of walk back to being in my body, because I had been in my head for so long. And I think there's so many people living like that. And another thing that comes to my mind is that I did not, because I was in such a mode of like doing. And I think that resonates with you, like before your bowel cancer as well. Doing, or high achieving. What else can I do? You know, I've got to be productive. You know, I've got to be there for everybody. That I kind of forgot to have joy in life. And not only forgot, I stopped giving myself permission to have joy.
So true.
And I think that's so sad, right? Like, because
it is,
you know, especially, you know, we as women, you know, we are kind of raised, at least, you know, like in my generation and where I come from, raised to put everybody before you. You know, everybody, you know, needs to come first. And you kind of forget that you are also important, and laughter and joy is a big part of it.
Absolutely. And I mean, just in society in general, I think that there's a lot more weight sort of placed on the serious stuff in life. You know, it's like if you think, you know, about news broadcasts, it's like, you know, it's all of the gloom, the you know, the doom. and that's an example of, something that, practically we can do, that if you are sort of feeling the weight of the world on your shoulders, don't turn on the news, perhaps, tune into, a podcast, an uplifting podcast.
Or even music, right? Music,
absolutely, because what this does is it actually triggers this notion of the endorphin effect, those feel-good hormones, and it uplifts you, and then it makes you actually more competent or prepared for whatever comes next. If we keep on sort of loading ourselves up with stress and heaviness, then we've got less space for joy, for creativity, for positive well-being.
Exactly. Yeah.
Those stress hormones are going to be still circling like sharks, really, unless we can actually, introduce this notion of this dose of well-being into our daily lives.
Yeah. I think that's so powerful. And as you know, I'm all about taking ownership, of what you do. And for me, it's so powerful, the message that you're giving today, because, when we talk about positive health and positive well-being, it's so easy to think like, I need something outside of me, right? I need vitamins. I need to go to a health professional every other day of the week. I need to, go to the doctors. I need to do this. I'm not saying that none of those things are important, but if you are not taking ownership of your feelings, like I was saying, when you wake up in the morning, your thoughts, what you can do, anything that sits outside of you, it's just not going to do anything, right? Like, you can take all the vitamins in the world, go to a health professional every other day of the week, but if you're not allowing yourself to have joy, redirecting your thoughts to positive, like I say, if you're just filling yourself with the negativity of the news, how are you going to heal and feel positive and getting those hormones going in your body, right?
That's right. Yeah. So one of the chapters I've actually got is called Self-Compassion with a Smile, and it really talks to what you were saying, is that, we can take all the vitamins in the world, we can do, all different types of therapies, but if we've still got that inner voice saying, nah, you're a loser, no, you're ugly, you can't, it's this inner saboteur. So, we need to sort of like offer ourselves that kindness and, being compassionate to ourselves, as a way of also countering, the negative effect of stress. And the other thing that I want to just say is that positive health and positive well-being, a lot of people go, because there's a lot of misperception of what that actually means. It does not mean placing a smile on your face 24/7 and actually acknowledging that you're going through a tough time, or that, you're going through huge challenges. It's not that at all. It's about really honoring all of our emotions and, being authentic and really listening to them, but saying, okay, but what if I sort of can reframe some of that tough stuff, through the lens of gratitude, through the lens of levity, through the lens of humor, through the lens of joy? How does that shift some of that difficult, stuff that we're going through? And, we all go through stuff, no one has perfect lives. And, the specifics of everybody's shit basically is different, but we all go through stuff. And so it's really important to be able to have this sort of like toolkit that we can draw upon that really speaks to us and doesn't feel like, fake. That it feels like this is something that authentically can transform us in that moment, not tomorrow necessarily, not in that moment. What can we do? Taking, just having a intentional breathing break, as I say, or, just choosing to place a smile on our face. These things that people, might sort of think, oh, they don't, they seem cool. They, and it's like, no. We need like a whole written formula. We need, the whole box and the this and the that. We have to go back to our inner resources. And the inner resource of smiling and laughter is something, it's an innate ability. Children laugh
Yeah.
before they talk. We smile before we laugh. And this Charles Darwin observed that, even in babies that are born, deaf or blind, they still have the ability to smile and laugh. And what I've witnessed in my work as well is that right until the end passage of life, often people with dementia and Alzheimer's, one of the last things to go is, way after language is gone, the last thing to go is smiling or the ability to laugh. And I've witnessed that in both my parents. And you sort of think, wow, if this thing wasn't so important, we wouldn't have been imbued with it. It wouldn't be a God-given gift. And it is a gift. It is a gift. So it's like, but what do we do with it? Do we just sort of, leave it to sort of passivity?
Yeah.
Other people to activate it?
Or think it's not important, right? I think what you said is so crucial for people to understand. Like, if you just think about, if I just focus on laughing every time I see a red light,
yes,
for example, it's a habit that you start developing that it's so small, but it just builds up. Like, so it's so subtle. Exactly.
Yeah, we're changing those neural pathways to sort of think from red light to like, an opportunity to breathe, to laugh, to smile.
Yeah.
This is great, actually. This is time that I wouldn't have, on my way to a meeting or whatever it is. So it's really, it's people might think that it's simple, but it's significant,
powerful,
and very powerful.
Yeah. What would you say to somebody who has lost the ability to connect to that joy, to that, laughter effect? I think a lot of people in this world are in this, doing. I need to have more, I need to work harder, more productivity, or, perhaps just like, I just need to do more for other people. I don't know how to nourish myself. And at the end, they're resenting everything and everyone, and they kind of lost the joy of life, right? I think a lot, and I see that a lot in cancer patients, people that I have worked with in the past, they've lost the ability to really allow themselves to have simple joy.
Yes, it was something that, one of the things I address in my book, and I actually give an example of an older woman who lost her very loving husband, just shy of, 50 years together. And she's just, she was joyless, absolutely joyless. And she a friend, and I was just, saying, surely there's something that, can put a little smile on your face. No. And I said, well, there must be something that you can be grateful for. No, I don't. I just, no, I've lost the love of my life. And I'm saying, well, not even now necessarily, but even in the future, if you can sort of think about it. And she said, yeah, well, maybe it'll mean I'll be able to, visit so-and-so that, I remember my husband didn't particularly like them, sort of thing.
Yeah.
But I said, that's fantastic. And I said, but, even in the immediacy of your day, how about like being grateful for the hot water that comes out of the shower, stepping into the shower and just, being in that, or, just having a coffee with a friend, or, the blue sky day. And I refer to those as micro moments of joy.
Yes.
And I think that the more micro moments of joy you can actually have in your day, the more you're actually creating a landscape for joy. And when you're going through challenging times, when you're feeling isolated, lonely, depressed, or whatever it is, it's unlikely to be those big moments of joy, the promotion, the overseas travel, the birthday, whatever it is, the huge celebration. They are not going to be as present in your life. So you need to actually build in these sorts of micro moments of joy. But I also think we need to build in micro moments of connection. And one of the things that I learned when I was researching for the laughter effect was this notion of the punctuation effect of laughter. So when we are having, conversation with someone, there's actually a lot of laughter that is drip fed through conversations.
Yeah.
So it might be just sort of like, it's been so fun, catching up with you.
Yeah.
Can't wait for the next time. So
Yeah.
you've got this, so connecting with people.
Yeah.
You actually, if you don't realize it, it's actually unconscious. It's this lubrication. Laughter lubricates conversations, and whilst it might not be as like intense as a
Yeah.
it's just this low intensity laughter that creates bonds and connections. So I would also recommend to people that are feeling low, in your own way, just reach out to someone, just have a conversation, have some FaceTime, and if you can, have some visual FaceTime, whether it's virtual or, real, because we've got these really clever brain cells called mirror neurons. So when I'm smiling, for example, you will smile. So it's like that sort of helps explain the contagiousness of laughter, but it's also that contagiousness of that feel good feeling. So it's not leaving it to chance. This is the thing I keep coming back to. It is just being very intentional, just choosing to integrate gratitude, micro moments of whatever it is. And then, as I say, it changes that sort of landscape. And before we know it, we actually realize we are smiling more. We are connecting with people more. We're laughing more. It doesn't.
You create a habit, right? Like you start creating habits.
Your habits, become your habitat.
Yes.
So, little by little, you rewire the brain to respond in a different way.
Yes.
And it's really,
you go from like grumpy to stressed to tight to always like to okay, and like I said, I really like what you said about it's not a fake way of being, but it is honoring, this is not great what I'm going through right now, but what it is the one thing that I can be grateful for, right? And I think both of us know that, like, especially during cancer treatment, there was so many things that were out of our control and so many things that were not pleasant at all, physically, mentally, or emotionally. But I grab onto those micro moments that you're talking about. For me, it was like, I am grateful that I can go for a walk around the block. I'm grateful that I'm in a first world hospital. I'm grateful for all those beautiful nurses. There was so many things that I could be grateful for. And I really focused and was intentional about directing my thoughts, especially when I had my worst moments. And I didn't leave it up to chance, like I said, because that's what I did before, and I realized that habit, it did not serve me. I needed to change it, and that was a real it was a practice, right? Like like I was saying, those little things, you start practicing a different way of being.
Yes, absolutely. And and it's not working it all out overnight. It's about becoming. We are a process. It's sort of but what we sort of invite to enable that process of becoming who we want to become. And so much of it goes back to what you sort of said earlier. It's about permission. It's like we got so sort of like attached to that sort of negative comfort zone, to how we were and how we've always done things and as opposed to sort of like taking a step back and really thinking, that might have served me well once upon a time, but hey, 30, 40, 50 years later, that's not necessarily serving us well. And the amazing thing about, as I say, smiling and laughing and gratitude and all of those, really active, positive emotions is we change our physiology and we tap into, as I say, these well-being hormones, and they're kind of addictive. Because, we get our hit of dopamine and we get our shot of, the oxytocin sort of, molecule of trust. So the more we do this, we're actually sort of like teaching our brain to sort of think, hey, it actually
It's
feels
okay.
really good
Yeah.
to feel grateful. It actually feels really good to place a smile, on my face, or to laugh, with friends. It's, again, might sound rather obvious, but we're actually teaching our brain to access this font of well-being,
Yeah.
to help sort of deal with the daily stresses. It's not like the daily stresses go away.
No.
How we respond to them.
Yes.
That is the shift,
Yeah.
Um,
And like you say, like contrabalancing, like if you start doing little bits by little bits, you're not just accumulating the micro moments of negativity, just kind of almost like wearing this really heavy backpack of like, oh, I'm going through this, I've got this challenge, you're just actually accumulating more moments
That's right.
of laughter and joy and being, feeling this feeling of connection, and I think that's being intentional about that every single day. It's a practice, and there is no end destination, like you said. There's not like, okay, when I get there, then I can stop.
Yes.
It's an everyday thing, right?
Exactly. And it's really interesting, the resistance that we go through. And again, it's some of the case studies I have in my book are, clients that I've worked with. And it's really interesting what some of those inner voices, come up with. I had one client who had lost both of her parents in the space of, less than a year. And she was really feeling joyless and just sort of didn't feel that she should be enjoying life. She should be happy. No, that would not be an appropriate response to the grief she was feeling. And it was really interesting, sort of challenging some of those, thoughts that she sort of had. And that mindset had led to, a deterioration in her relationship. Physically, she was like, feeling like a ton of bricks. And it was amazing, just sort of giving herself permission to perhaps reflect on some of the time she'd spent with her parents, thinking about the good times and acknowledging that they wouldn't want her to be unhappy or sad. It's like actually honor their memory by connecting to, some of that joy, and then actually creating that physical shift. I actually needed her to actually practice what it felt like to smile and laugh again. So we actually needed to do some smiling meditation. We needed to do some intentional laughter. So to actually remind her mind and body of what it can feel like, what joy
is powerful.
Like.
Yeah.
And it was
That's
amazing.
so powerful.
Yeah. And it was literally, if I think about it, Angelica, it was only probably over a period of about 6 to 8 weeks.
Yeah.
Talking about a long time.
No.
But, and then I didn't need to see her anymore because she got it,
Amazing.
And that's the thing about the I suppose the strategies and techniques that I advocate. They're not things that, need to be prescribed and be, these are innate resources.
Mm-hmm.
It's, once we've switched them on, we might need reminders, but we know that they're there and we can then, really work with them to affect change.
Yeah. And I think, you feel empowered, right? Because you realize that, like you're saying, this is innate, is in us. I don't have to go to a shop and buy it. This is inside me, I know I can always tap into it. And once you teach somebody how to tap into it, like you taught your client, when they realize that they're going down the wrong, they can pull themselves back.
Right.
And they know exactly what to do. And I think this is why it's so important to work with somebody like you. So tell us a little bit more about the work that you do, of course, aside from your book, and you can talk about your book as well, but tell us a little bit more about the work that you do as well.
Oh, well, my latest project's very exciting. I actually had been working with La Trobe University to create a short course for professionals, essentially around the science of humour and laughter. It's called Laughter, Resilience and Wellbeing. And that started this week. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah, we had 23 learners from around the world, which I was really thrilled about. So we had some people calling in from Germany, Croatia and Thailand, and also all around Australia. And it's a 5-week course that sort of gives, as I say, people, we talk about this, the neuroscience and science of laughter, the difference between humor and laughter, and humor based laughter therapies and non-humor-based laughter therapies like laughter yoga, and essentially introducing the laughter effect to professionals. So then the final week is about, they will have developed some sort of proposal for a pitch for their workplace, a laughter, smiling or humor-based project. So I'm really been excited about that, because that's just sort of taking the laughter effect, again, it's about the ripple effect. So that's been a huge thing, sort of developing and figuring out, what resources and what funny clips and how we can get it happening, because it's online, obviously.
Yeah.
And so that's been fun.
So what kind? So you're saying the people from all over the world, what kind of professionals would benefit from this course? Like if they want to sign up to the next intake?
Yeah, sure. So, well, anyone, honestly, anybody in the people business, because these are life skills, these are laugh skills.
Yeah.
So it's I found that in the first intake, I've got a lot of people in the wellbeing space, psychologists, there's some teachers. So I think, especially, and HR, I've got, really it's to try and address this sort of precursor to burnout. So, personal burnout, but also organizational burnout. It's like, introducing some of these strategies and theories, so people can change their own sort of, way they are, but also introduce it into their work culture.
Well, that's really interesting. Like, people in corporate. Yeah. In my time in corporate, I'm trying to think like how much laughter there was, but there was
not much joy there.
I'm trying to think, but I can't think that there was much.
Yes.
There was a lot of stress and not much space for laughter.
Yes.
Unless, it was a party and everybody was drinking alcohol, and which is, again, is not the purpose of it, right? Like, it's not health promoting. So, so how do you see that happening in corporate? I'll be interested for you to speak about that, so people can.
Well, there's different ways. I suppose, it can just be like a lunch and learn model. So, you invite your employees and it depends how serious the workplace is. You could have a really sort of serious talk about the neuroscience of humor and laughter. Or give all of the facts and the figures, and which is important, because I think contextually need to understand that it doesn't just come out of thin air. People have been, relying on humor and laughter, as I say, since day dot. This is not a new thing. It's just how we do it. We practice it, and activate it now is maybe different. Then, there are, to integrate, meditations. So, some of the meditations I do are endorphin boosting meditations, or inner smile meditations, or gratitude body scans, so taking, that, or laughter meditations, or having a laughter workout, often, I suppose, one of the programs I do is one of the more popular is, I do have it, talking about an interaction about, the science of laughter, history, but then, I think it's really important for people to be able to experience it.
Yes.
And I think the biggest challenges with any sort of intentional practice, like especially laughter, is the first thing people think is often, this is not how we've done it our whole lives. We laugh when something's funny. We're not just going to switch on laughter. It's not going to be the same. But the extraordinary thing is that the body cannot differentiate between simulated versus spontaneous. I never say fake. Fake is just not good on anyone. So, it's about, recognizing that it's a new way of thinking, that we can choose to be joyful. We can choose to be grateful. We can choose. And then basically, we can choose to laugh in order to feel happy. So it's flipping it. We're not going to be waiting until we're happy to feel joy. So it's the same thing in a workplace. You take whatever issue they're going through. So, often it'll be, breakdown in teams, communication, and it's getting people to, even without realizing it, laugh together. So, some of the, humor-based, practices I do, they're very fun. It might be, having a room of people and, there's like the punchline, on one card, and then there's the, the actual joke and the other card, and teams have got to figure out which is from which, and
Awesome.
and so it's just like it's actually getting back to a bit of a state of play, in some ways, that sort of inner child where there's more freedom to just sort of be a bit silly, and being a bit silly is not being stupid.
No, I know.
Silly is actually really wise. And I think that a lot of workplaces, I think there are more and more workplaces actually acknowledging the importance of these things. I think what I'm sort of speaking about is sort of where maybe, I don't know, meditation was 20 years ago. It's still a bit new and a bit niche, but it's
getting more.
Yeah, and it really addresses, people work better when they feel happier, when they feel less stressed. People perform better. People, relate better. People, and it's to each other, to their clients. So what I sort of introduced in workplaces, it makes sense. Perhaps people haven't thought about it because it's so damn obvious. But it's about giving people strategies and techniques. Say about leaving it to chance, and me just sort of coming in and sort of saying, hey, this is really important, da 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 da, and leaving them to their own, device. Need to actually be able to give people practical steps in order for them to be able to see and feel change. Through experience, not from me talking.
Exactly. I love that, because it goes almost like goes beyond the meditation, right? Like I really like that, because meditation, it can be done in different ways, as you know. And I think that if you kind of have this add-on of the laughter, it brings a whole different feeling in the body. And I think, when people are at work, especially in the corporate world, it's almost like they leave their laughter at home, right? They're just like, I can't have both together.
Yes.
And I think what you're talking about, that is so powerful, because, we spend 8 hours a day, working, if you're in corporate, and if you just left your laughter at home, like, you wouldn't leave your mobile phone at home, would you? So.
I love that. But, and that's why I'm sort of a big advocate of, those water cooler moments, So, I mean, listen, it's brilliant that we have this online capacity to be able to, talk as we're doing, or to teach as I'm doing it, through La Trobe, or, the whole working from home. There have been definite advantages, but one thing that has been left by the wayside is those incidental opportunities to interact, and that is what creates that sort of punctuation effect of laughter moments. It's like if we would have it'd be interesting to note how many times we would have laughed throughout our conversation. It wouldn't have been because things that we've been particularly funny. It's like, I'm not a comedian, neither are you, but it's like, there's, so it's really, it comes back to connection, but it's just connection with others. It's connection, the connection that we have with ourselves, and whether we can learn to smile and laugh at our imperfections, whether we can sort of learn, to laugh, at ourselves when we mess up, that's one of the quality, key ingredients in resilience. So, it's, but I love what you said, that you don't leave your mobile phone at home. You shouldn't leave laughter at home. It's great. And it's so true.
Yes. So apart from that work, so you're promoting your book still, you're still kind of going around and doing that.
Yes, I am. And listen, the book has actually blown me away. I've got 9 international publishing deals. It's going to be published in in Portuguese, in Chinese, in Spanish, in American.
That's amazing. Wow.
Like Korean, like genuinely, like it's just blown me away. And I think it really is because people are really crying out for more laughter and joy. So I'm actually going to the States early next year to promote the US Canadian release. That's pretty big. But yeah, there's just, just having opportunities to chat to delightful souls like yourself, and just getting the message out there that, there's so much that we can do to, effect our own joy. So, obviously, if anybody wants to, hear about the book, it's available in paperback, it's available as an audio. I'll do another thing. It's called After Effect: How to Build Joy, Resilience, and Positivity in Your Life.
I love it. And where is it available? Amazon, everywhere? Okay, cool.
Everywhere.
Amazing.
Yeah, and I actually think when I was in Queensland and I missed you, I think the avid reader, they've still possibly got some signed copies. But yeah,
okay.
But it's available everywhere. So
amazing.
Yes, love to hear.
Ros, that's incredible. Just to think, when you think about that moment where you made that decision to go to Queensland.
I know.
For a little bit of a break. Yep. Look at what led you to.
I know.
That is incredible. You're going to go to the States early next year, 9 publishing deals. You were amazing. And it's such an important message, the ripple effect is just going to be growing and growing. That's incredible. Well done, you.
Oh, well done, you too. Us bowel babes.
Yes. Yes. Well, I'm going to add all your details in the comments so people can get the book. But also your website if they want to get in touch with you. Presumably you have the details of your course as well there, or?
Yes, I think so. Yes, it is.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. So people can sign up. But thank you so much for your time. It's just been, again, amazing to talk to you.
And you, I just, as I say, it sort of blows me away that when we were first introduced, you were a very different person then, and I so related to where you were. It's just, it's a really, really tough time that, both been through. And I know that, so many of the listeners will have as well. And I think it's just marvelous that here we are. Thank whoever,
yes.
We can be here in, such fullness of ourselves, and, just do what we do and be who we are. And it's an absolute gift.
And thank you so much for once more reminding me that I need to laugh more.
Yes, my pleasure.
Awesome.
More often.
Yes, thank you.